9. Alcoholism. All addiction under any form is vice, a pernicious conditioning that claims to be a second nature and that must be fought whenever detected and wherever it takes a foothold. Many who have an addiction likely classify it as of a lesser or greater consequence. Addiction usually enters in the guise of a social custom, which then gains a foothold and prepares for a long stay. The result is a deterioration of society's moral reserves. Reasoning powers become dulled and give way to a vigorous emergence of primitive instincts that man is expected to leave behind. Addiction subtly begins by affecting the novices and arouses in the weak a need for repetition. They then embark in search of deceitful pleasures or new emotions, proclaiming their inability to resist such dependency. Accepted in society with brazen tolerance, the destructive influence of addiction exceeds the most deadly of epidemics. It destroys more lives than cancer, tuberculosis, and heart disease combined. And even among these tragic health statistics, we can find the preponderant causes of many addictions in their being regarded as adding a social status and refinement. The systematic victims of addiction refuse to abandon them, claiming theirs as merely a habit that they can terminate at any time, while that of others is much more serious than theirs. Those others, in turn, give the same classification of insignificance to their own addictions. Many inveterate victims claim their addiction to be of minor consequence, and that there are many things worse than this, and argue, "I'd rather have this vice than another," as if advantages of one evil against another could be weighed and the results discussed. Men, without the compulsions of an addiction, possess the power and resources to achieve the higher objectives in life, for these objectives will not be engulfed by vain delusions. Addiction to alcohol, for example, enslaves and disorganizes the mind and poisons and deteriorates the body. It may begin as an innocent, although unnecessary cocktail that is repeated among smiles. Later, it becomes a necessity. With the ground consolidated, domination becomes complete, for it increases in direct ratio to its consumption. Justifications for drinking thus begin: happiness, frustration, sadness, hope, rebellion, sorrow, vengeance, forgetfulness. To some, it represents courage, to others, enthusiasm, yet it invariably becomes a tyrant, leading to acts repulsive to reason. Alcoholism claims to strengthen the weak, when in reality it entraps and debilitates them, ruining their lives. Many social problems derive from addiction to alcohol. It transforms solid citizens into outcasts, young people into precociously old, skillful professionals into moral wrecks, girls and matrons into shadows of human beings. If economically able, they are placed in comfortable hospitals. Otherwise, their lives end in the gutter, and in both cases, are haunted by hellish alienations. Another consequence is the tragic self-destruction by which an alcoholic seeks to find impossible solutions to problems he himself created. When suicide does not occur, it takes place indirectly, through destructive overdoses with which he burdens his body. After departing from the flesh, which is also a painful experience, his urges do not cease. On the other side of the grave, his irresponsible spirit discovers that death did not solve the problem, nor did it end life. In this regard, we may also point out that the desperate addiction to alcohol or other substances that disrupt the personality may sometimes be caused by obsessive psychic influences. Such conditions always end in painful obsessive states of unpredictable consequences. Do not use special occasions such as celebrations, festivities, or parties, etc., as a pretext to initiate yourself into a vice. The ocean is made up of drops of water, and the broad beaches of individual grains of sand. Immunize yourself against this idea that says, "It is for today only." When led to make a detrimental commitment, do not rationalize by saying, Just a little, for one venomous bite, although a tiny dose, is enough to produce instantaneous death. If happiness is your lot, enjoy it by keeping a sound mind. If visited by suffering, face it in abstinence and strength. In every commitment that requires decision-making, courage, balance, definition, heroism, humility, stoicism, or resignation, you can turn to prayer. Meditate deeply and you will absorb precious resources to overcome any situation, no matter what its nature might be. Never let yourself enter into an addiction in the assumption that you can rid yourself of it at will, for if the addicted could exert their will, they would not have been under such terrible domination. On Sunday's new chapter of the work, contribute by making donations with the publishing of works in the English language. Subscribe to our networks at Casa de Reading KO YouTube and Facebook.